And welcome to this week's interview with Eagle head coach Beau Baldwin. It's brought to you by Cheney Federal Credit Union, serving their members' financial needs since 1951. Coach, just general reactions as we start on the game on Saturday, the red out in the stands and the excitement for ESPN and so forth.
Yeah, it was an amazing feeling. I've talked about it at different moments over the last, especially 3-4 years, seeing how much the tailgating's taken off, and seeing how much the pregame stuff is taken off with, just different things that are surrounding it. But this one felt even that much more grander. It just felt that much bigger, just to see the fans and the support that was there and everyone buying into that red out. I mean, it was a cool feeling. And our guys, like I said, I talked about it on Twitter the other day, just the idea. It's coach talk to say guys don't. It doesn't matter how many fans are in the stands, or it doesn't matter, you still play, but you feed off that. We're human, so when we get that type of, energy and feel that type of passion from our fans, it does. It feeds into the energy level, and our guys really work hard to want to put a great product on the field. So I thank the fans for that.
Now the product on the field. First half especially a little choppy on offense. Was it nerves? Was it just everybody trying to get used to a new season? What was it?
I think it's a combination of a few things. I think there's some nerve things, and there's some stuff that that you're just missing on, that whether you want to call that nerves or being a little excited or whatever that might be. But it's also, I don't think people sometimes realize the choppiness on offense is also going to occur based on your opponent. And not just the talent level, which I thought their talent level was very high. I thought maybe even higher than I would have maybe guessed, and that's a compliment to, I knew they'd be good, but, some of those new faces could really move and hit and with what they did, but also the style. I mean, very similar to what Sam Houston especially was 2 years ago when they played us here in 12, and kind of, a little bit reminds me of Portland State too, where they're going to press. They're going to put a lot of guys in the box. They're going to come up and jam receivers. They're going to do certain things that maybe make you a little more low percentage or tough to kind of rhythm, but put you in situations where you can hit some big plays on them and you can, take some shots on them. So sometimes, we have to get a lot better, but also when you face a defense that plays that type of style, sometimes it is a little bit less of a rhythm game and more of a, we got to win our one-on-ones when those provide us.
You didn't have, a lot of your receivers didn't play in your scrimmages in the fall, so would that maybe guys maybe a little rusty as far as game speed and working together?
Maybe a little bit, but most of them still had a ton of practices. Obviously Coop sat out. He was one that sat out the last scrimmage, but he had gone 19 straight, 20 straight practices, so the timing was there. He just didn't need to be, tackled live in that scrimmage on the, in my opinion, but the timing was there. Shaq Hill would be the one, for him, I think it was a tough camp because he did have to sit out most of camp, and he actually played in the last scrimmage, but we didn't play Vernon, so that was one, that's one guy who's still kind of probably, you can say the number of practices he had is more equivalent to some of the guys who would be in practice, 10 or 11 rather than, practice 27, by the time you're ready for to play a game on Saturday. So Shaq would probably be the one guy. Other than that, most of the guys, had, a typical amount of reps and time during camp.
One of the great secrets from Friday night into Saturday was an injury to Cooper Kupp in the walkthrough on Friday, and it was 50-50 or maybe even less than that as to whether he'd even play.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you'd asked me the night before, and people did, a small number of people, I'd have said, I don't think so. And then even in the morning when he came off after pregame or, late afternoon as we're getting close, he came off after pregame stuff, and he was close to, I don't know if I can do this, for the guys. He because he doesn't want to put himself out there, and not be, someone who can contribute, because he's tough as can be, but he's still going to be selfless, and if he knows he can't put a good product out there, then someone else should be in there. But he just, it's just Cooper. I mean, he played through something that I don't think people realize, 99 out of 100, athletes or whatever it might be. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I don't know what the percentage be, but many athletes would not have even attempted to play, and he played. So he definitely was not 100% out there, probably far from it, and still was able to haul in 7 passes and have an impact. And it's guts, it's toughness. It's it's a lot. It's very similar to different times when Kaufman played through stuff that most guys wouldn't.
Defensively, they get 540 some odd yards, but again, you don't get points for yards gained. You get points for actually crossing the end zone and getting into the end zone, crossing the goal line and getting into the end zone, especially in the first half. I thought the defense played well. They got gashed on 2 big plays, but other than that, they gave up nothing to Sam Houston.
I agree. I mean, I felt that way. I felt that way through 3 quarters of play. I thought the numbers, whatever the numbers said, I didn't really care. I thought the defense had played, some really good football, especially for a game 1. I mean, obviously we hit on it. A couple big plays. One of their touchdowns was a defensive touchdown, by a mistake we made on offense. So I thought we played a very, very, very solid game on defense, especially for 3 quarters. Now in quarter number 4, what we have to get over the hump is we got tired. We did. We got tired, and it was one of those games. We had 45 special teams plays, and between the 2 teams, if you take out the penalty plays, it's darn near 200 plays of either O or D. I know we're listed as 100 and they're in the 85, but that's without even counting some plays you actually played where there was a penalty. So it was one of those long games. It went 4 hours plus. It was a long game, and we did. We hit a little bit of a wall in the 4th quarter, and we got to get over some of those humps. We'll work on it again this week in practice with a lot of up tempo and just making sure we're at the level where we can finish. But all in all, it sounds funny to say the score is 56-35. And I would say all in all, the defense graded out as playing better than the offense. And usually you wouldn't say that in a 56-35, quote-unquote shootout, which, but that's just the nature of how that game went and how many plays were run. But there's stuff to work on both sides. So that's what we love as coaches.
You mentioned the fatigue. Injuries probably didn't help either. You didn't have Miles Weatheroy coming into the game at safety. Then you lost Jordan Tenani during the game. So now you're down probably to 4 safeties in that situation. On the defensive line, you lost Pulu partway through the game as well. So you probably in a couple of those positions were going shorthanded as well.
We were, especially for like I said, the number of reps that we needed to take out there because of the speed of the game and both teams running a lot of plays. We got a little bit, but at the same time, we just have to. Next guy's got to be ready to step up, and our guys will get better too. It's you can simulate it all you want in practice and work on it and do it, and I tell the guys that I want times in practice to feel harder than a game. And I think we do create a lot of that, but it is tough to simulate ever. Okay, now we're on play number such and such in the 4th quarter, on a still, I know it wasn't a scorching day, but it's still an 80-degree August day. It is tough to simulate that, and sometimes, early in the year you go through some of that. You saw it at Oregon State last year with both teams. You had some different guys cramping and some different things there, and it's very common in an early game. So, but we have to keep working on that. If that's an issue for us, we don't want to be that team that is more fatigued ever at the end. We want to continue to work towards being, and I don't think we were. I don't, and I think it showed, in us finishing the game running the ball like we did. I think it showed in what we did in the 3rd quarter that we were mentally stronger, mentally tougher, but we can still look ourselves in the mirror and know we can still be better even in the 4th quarter in some of those areas.
Montana Western this week, the key thing is guys aren't going to be probably as sky high as they were for Sam Houston, or they will be next week for UW, but you've got to maintain focus this week against a Montana Western team that had an easy time with Montana Tech over the weekend.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just you have to. I mean, there's still it's 11 college football players against 11 college football players, and we're all looking to do special things in a season, but in every game. And for them, they're going to look at it no different than we looked at an Oregon State game a year ago or a UW game or whatever it might be. When we get a chance to play what college football calls a level up or this and that, but at the end of the day, it's still 11 guys fighting and scrapping, and they're there for a reason. Just like our guys are here for a reason, they're there for a reason. They can play football, and they did. They looked very strong in their opening win on both sides of the ball. and we know that it's always going to be a challenge. And I don't care who you're playing. Even when we played, literally when we played Sam Houston last week, when we're going to play UW, you still want to work on improving your standard of practice and your standard of play. And that's what I'm going to keep talking to the guys about. And it won't change after we play Montana Western. When we go play UW, we'll only have one game of film on them. We may not know a whole lot of what we're going to see in that game, just like we didn't with Sam Houston. But it's all about what can we raise our standard? And based off last week, there's a lot of areas where we can raise our standard of play. So that's the mindset and kind of the mental approach I want us to take going into this week is let's see where we take our standard of play from week 1 to week 2. And first off, standard of practice, which then will lead to standard of play.
Coach, we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming by.
Appreciate you having me. Thanks, Larry.
You betcha. That's head coach Beau Baldwin in our Eagle Coaches podcast here on GoEags.com, brought to you by Cheney Federal Credit Union.